Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to be doing reading time with Ruby. If you're in my Telegram group, you will know that I do this thing somewhat regularly, but I just stopped doing it. I'm not sure why. So we're bringing it back, and this time it's going to be on Twitter, and this is a recorded space. So what we're basically going to be doing is just reading aloud a book. By the way, reading out books out loud is one of the best things that you can possibly do to improve your oratory ability, right? Obviously. But like literally, how good are you at reading out loud? I'm just lucky. I was just gifted. Right? I've always been good at it. And that's actually through my parents would always make me read Bible verses out loud, like during church. You know, I'd put my hand up and they'd be like, go, Ruby, read it. I'm like, oh, okay. So I had no choice but to get good. So in school, when we're in English class, and it's like, all right, we're going to take turns to around, everybody's going to read a line, blah, blah, blah. Some people were genuinely like terrified by that. Like that was their worst fear. To this day, like currently as it stands, public speaking is one of the greatest, most common fears that people have. Public speaking, it's one of the most common, like right next to like heights, right? It's like that common. And it's kind of funny because it's literally just, it's not even a real fear. Like with heights, if you fall, you die. There's like it's rational. But being afraid of public speaking, it's just, I don't know, it's just like you're worried about how you're being perceived and you might like your reputation. So I don't know. Anyway, reading out loud is one of the best things you can do to actually improve the way that you speak, just like the way you sound. So we're going to be starting off with the Masterkey system. Now I am fully loaded. I got my caffeine, I got my drink, I got water. I'm going to take drink breaks, and I'm probably going to have to piss a few times during this. All right, but we're one big happy family here. Right, we share experiences. So without further ado, let's begin in the Masterkey system. So I'm not going to bother with the... Do I bother with it? Okay, I'll do the introduction, but then not the foreword. But this is just for like simplicity's sake. If you're trying to decide whether the book you're reading is good or not, something you can do is you just stick through, you read the entire foreword, and then like the first few pages of the introduction. If you don't like the way that it sounds, just scrap it. But anyway, we already decided on this one. So this is the Masterkey System by Charles F. Haanel. Introduction. Nature compels us all to move through life. We could not remain stationary, however much we wished. Every right-thinking person wants not merely to move through life like a sound-producing, perambulating plant, but to develop, to improve, and to continue the development mentally to the close of physical life. This development can only occur through the improvement of the quality of individual thought and the ideals, actions, and conditions that arise as a consequence. Hence, a study of the creative process of thought and how to apply them is of supreme importance to each one of us. This knowledge is the means whereby the evolution of human life on Earth may be hastened and uplifted in the process. Humanity ardently seeks the truth and explores every avenue to it. In this process, it has produced a special literature which ranges the whole gamut of thought from the trivial to the sublime, up from divination through all the philosophies to the final lofty truth of the Masterkey. The Masterkey is here, given to the world as a means of tapping the great cosmic intelligence and attracting from it that which corresponds to the ambitions and aspirations of each reader. Everything and every institution we see around us, created by human agency, had first to exist as a thought in some human mind. Thought, therefore, is constructive. Human thought is the spiritual power of the cosmos operating through its creature man. The master key instructs the reader how to use that power and use it both constructively and creatively. The things and conditions we desire to become realities, we must first create in thought. The master key explains and guides the process. The master key teaching has hitherto been published. Oh, we're not going to. Yeah, that's just blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're just going to skip to the actual book. We're going to skip the forward, all right? Quick coffee break. Okay. Introduction, part 1. It is my privilege to enclose here with part 1 of the Master Key system. Would you bring into your life more power? Get the power consciousness. More health? Get the health consciousness. More happiness? Get the happiness consciousness. Live the spirit of these things until they become yours by right. It will then become impossible to keep them from you. The things of this world are fluid to a power within man by which he rules them. You need not acquire this power. You already have it. But you want to understand it. You want to use it. You want to control it. You want to impregnate yourself with it so that you can go forward and carry the world before you. Day by day, as you go on, as you gain momentum, as your inspiration deepens, as your plans crystallize, as you gain understanding, you will come to realize that this world is no dead pile of stones and timber, but that it is a living thing. It is made up of the beating hearts of humanity. It is a thing of life and beauty. Damn, this is written so epically. I'm loving the language. It is evident that it requires understanding to work with material of this description, but those who come into this understanding are inspired by a new light, a new force. They gain confidence and greater power each day. They realize their hopes and their dreams come true. Life has a deeper, fuller, clearer meaning than before. And now, part 1. Part 1. Number 1. That much gathers more is true on every plane of existence, and that loss leads to greater loss is equally true. Number 2. Mind is creative, and conditions, environment, and all experiences in life are the result of our habitual or predominant mental attitude. Number 3. The attitude of mind necessarily depends upon what we think. Therefore, the secret of all power, all achievement, and all possession depends upon our method of thinking. Number 4. This is true because we must be before we can do, and we can do only to the extent which we are, and what we are depends on what we think. Number 5. We cannot express powers that we do not possess. The only way by which we may secure possession of power is to become conscious of power. And we can never become conscious of power until we learn that all power is from within. 6. There is a world within, a world of thought and feeling and power, of light and life and beauty, and although invisible, its forces are mighty. Number 7. The world within is governed by mind. When we discover this world, we shall find a solution for every problem, the cause for every effect. And since the world within is subject to our control, all laws of power and possession are also within our control. Number 8. The world without is a reflection of the world within. What appears without is what has been found within. In the world within may be infinite wisdom, infinite power, infinite supply of all that is necessary, waiting for unfoldment, development, and expression. If we recognize these potentialities in the world within, they will take form in the world without. Coffee break. Number 9, harmony in the world within will be reflected in the world without by harmonious conditions, agreeable surroundings, the best of everything. It is the foundation of health and a necessary essential to all greatness, all power, all attainment, all achievement, and all success. Number 10, harmony in the world within means the ability to control our thoughts and to determine for ourselves how any experience is to affect us. Number 11, harmony in the world within results in optimism and affluence. Affluence within results in affluence without. Number 12, the world without reflects the circumstances and the conditions of the consciousness within. Number 13, if we find wisdom in the world within, we shall have the understanding to discern the marvelous possibilities that are latent in this world within, and we shall be given the power to make these possibilities manifest in the world without. Number 14, as we become conscious of the wisdom in the world within, we mentally take possession of this wisdom, and by taking mental possession, we come into actual possession of the power and wisdom necessary to bring into manifestation the essentials necessary for our most complete and harmonious development. Number 15. The world within is the practical world in which the men and women of power generate courage, hope, enthusiasm, confidence, trust, and faith, by which they are given the fine intelligence to see the vision and the practical skill to make the vision real. Number 16. Life is an unfoldment, not accretion. What comes to us in the world without is what we have already possessed in the world within. 17. All possession is based on consciousness. All gain is the result of an accumulative consciousness. All loss is the result of scattering consciousness. 18. Mental efficiency is contingent upon harmony. Discord means confusion. Therefore, he who would acquire power must be in harmony with natural law. 19. We are related to the world without by the objective mind. The brain is the organ of this mind, and the cerebrospinal system of nerves puts us in conscious communication with every part of the body. This system of nerves responds to every sensation of light, heat, odor, sound, and taste. 20. When this mind thinks correctly, when it understands the truth, when the thoughts sent through the cerebrospinal nervous system to the body are constructive, these sensations are pleasant, harmonious. 21. The result is that we build strength, vitality, and all constructive forces into our body. But it is through this same objective mind that all distress, sickness, lack, limitation, and every form of discord and inharmony is admitted to our lives. It is therefore the objective mind, by wrong thinking, that we are related to all destructive forces. 22. We are related to the world within by the subconscious mind. The solar plexus is the organ of this mind. The sympathetic system of nerves presides over all subjective sensations such as joy, fear, love, emotion, respiration, imagination, and all other subconscious phenomena. It is through the subconscious that we are connected with universal mind and brought into relation with the infinite constructive forces of the universe. 23. It is the coordination of these two centers of our being and their understanding of their functions, which is the great secret of life. With this knowledge, we can bring the objective and subjective minds into conscious cooperation and therefore coordinate the finite and the infinite. Our future is entirely within our control. It is not at the mercy of any capricious or uncertain external power. Damn, that one was good. 24. All agree that there is but one principle or consciousness pervading the entire universe, occupying all space, and being essentially the same in kind of at every point of its presence. It is all powerful, all wisdom, and always present. All thoughts and things are within itself. It is all in all. 25. There is but one consciousness in the universe able to think. And when it thinks, its thoughts become objective things to it. As this consciousness is omnipresent, it must be present within every individual. Each individual must be a manifestation of that omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent consciousness. 26. As there is only one consciousness in the universe that is able to think, it necessarily follows that your consciousness is identical with the universal consciousness. Or, in other words, all mind is one mind. There is no dodging this conclusion. 27. The consciousness that focuses in your brain cells is the same consciousness which focuses in the brain cells of every other individual. Each individual is but the individualization of the universal, the cosmic mind. 28. The universal mind is static or potential energy. It simply is. It can manifest only through the individual, and the individual can manifest only through the universal. They are one. 29. The ability of the individual to think is his ability to act on the universal and bring it into manifestation. Human consciousness consists only in the ability of man to think. Mind in itself is believed to be a subtle form of static energy from which arises the activities called thought, which is the dynamic phase of mind. Mind is static energy. Thought is dynamic energy. Two phases of the same thing. Thought is therefore the vibratory force formed by converting static mind into dynamic mind. 30. As the sum of all attributes are contained in the universal mind, which is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, these attributes must be present at all times in their potential form in every individual. Therefore, when the individual thinks, the thought is compelled by its nature to embody itself in an objectivity or condition which will correspond with its origin. 31. Every thought, therefore, is a cause, and every condition an effect. For this reason, it is absolutely essential that you control your thoughts so as to bring forth only desirable conditions. 32. All power is from within, and it is absolutely under your control. It comes through exact knowledge and by the voluntary exercises of exact principles. 33. It should be plain that when you acquire a thorough understanding of this law and are able to control your thought processes, you can apply it to any condition. In other words, you will have come into conscious cooperation with omnipotent law, which is the fundamental basis of all things. 34. The universal mind is the life principle of every atom, which in existence, every atom is continually striving to manifest more life. All are intelligent and all are seeking to carry out the purpose for which they were created. 35. A majority of mankind lives in the world without. Few have found the world within. And yet, it is the world within that makes the world without. It is therefore creative, and everything which you find in your world without has been created by you in the world within. 36. This system will bring you into a realization of power, which will be yours when you understand this relation between the world without and the world within. The world within is the cause. The world without, the effect. To change the effect, you must change the cause. 37. You will at once see that this is a radically new and different idea. Most men try to change effects by working with effects. They fail to see that this is simply changing from one form of distress for another. To remove discord, we must remove the cause. And this cause can be found only in the world within. 38. All growth is from within. This is evident in all nature. Every plant, every animal, every human is a living testimony to this great law, and the error of the ages is in looking for strength or power from without. 39. The world within is the universal fountain of supply, and the world without is the outlet to this stream. Our ability to receive depends on our recognition of this universal fountain, this infinite energy of which each individual is an outlet, and so is one with every other individual. 40. Recognition is a mental process. Mental action is therefore the interaction of the individual upon the universal mind. And as the universal mind is the intelligence which pervades all space and animates all living things, this mental action and the reaction is the law of causation. But the principle of causation does not obtain in the individual, but in the universal mind. It is not an objective faculty, but a subjective process. And the results are seen in an infinite variety of conditions and experiences. 41. In order to express life, there must be mind. Nothing can exist without mind. Everything which exists is some manifestation of this one basic substance from which and by which all things have been created and are continually being recreated. 42. We live in a fathomless sea of plastic mind substance. This substance is ever alive and active. It is sensitive to the highest degree. It takes form according to the mental demand. Thought forms the mold or matrix from which the substance expresses. 43. Remember that it is the application alone that the value consists, and that a practical understanding of this law will substitute abundance for poverty, wisdom for ignorance, harmony for discord, and freedom for tyranny. And certainly, there can be no greater blessing than these from a material and social standpoint. 44. Now make the application. Select a room where you can be alone and undisturbed. Sit erect, comfortably, but do not lounge. Let your thoughts roam where they will, but be perfectly still for from 15 minutes to half an hour. Continue this for 3 or 4 days or for a week until you secure full control of your physical being. 45. Many will find this extremely difficult. Others will conquer with ease. But it is absolutely essential to secure complete control of the body before you are ready to progress. Next week, you will receive instructions for the next step. In the meantime, you must have mastered this one. Quick coffee break. That was fantastic. Part 1. Study questions with answers. Number 1. What is the world without in its relation to the world within? The world without is a reflection of the world within. Number 2. Upon what does all possession depend? All possession is based on consciousness. Number 3. How is the individual related to the objective world? The individual is related to the objective world by the objective mind. The brain is the organ of this mind. Number 4, how is he related to the universal mind? He is related to the universal mind by the subconscious mind. The solar plexus is the organ of this mind. Number 5, what is the universal mind? The universal mind is the life principle of every atom which is in existence. Number 6, how can the individual act on the universal? The ability of the individual to think is his ability to act upon the universal and bring it into manifestation. Number 7, what is the result of this action and interaction? The result of this action and interaction is cause and effect. Every thought is a cause and every condition an effect. Number 8, how are harmonious and desirable conditions secured? Harmonious and desirable conditions are obtained by right thinking. Number 9, what is the cause of all discord, inharmony, lack, and limitation? Discord, inharmony, lack, and limitation are the result of wrong thinking. Number 10, what is the source of all powers? The source of all power is the world within, the universal fountain of supply, the infinite energy of which each individual is an outlet. Introduction, Part 2. Our difficulties are largely due to confused ideas and ignorance of our true interests. The great task is to discover the laws of nature to which we are to adjust ourselves. Clear thinking and moral insight are, therefore, of incalculable value. All processes, even those of thought, rest on solid foundations. The keener the sensibilities, the more acute the judgment, the more delicate the taste, the more refined the moral feelings, the more subtle the intelligence, the loftier the aspiration, the purer and more intense are the gratifications which existence yields. Hence, it is that the study of the best that has been thought in the world gives supreme pleasure. The powers, uses, and possibilities of the mind under new interpretations are incomparably more wonderful than the most extravagant accomplishment, or even dreams of material progress. Thought is energy. Active thought is active energy. Concentrated thought is a concentrated energy. Thought concentrated on a definite purpose becomes power. This is the power which is being used by those who do not believe in the virtue of poverty or the beauty of self-denial. They perceive that this is the talk of weaklings. The ability to receive and manifest this power depends upon the ability to recognize the infinite energy ever dwelling in man, constantly creating and recreating his body and mind, and at any ready moment to manifest through him in any needful manner. In exact proportion to the recognition of this truth will be the manifestation in the outer life of the individual. Part 2. Number 1. The operations of the mind are produced by two parallel modes of activity, the one conscious and the other subconscious. Professor Davidson says, "He who thinks to illuminate the whole range of mental action by the light of his own consciousness is not unlike the one who should go about to illuminate the universe with a rushlight." The subconscious logical processes are carried on with certainty and regularity, which would be impossible if there existed the possibility of error. Our mind is so designed that it prepares for us the most important foundations of cognition, whilst we have not the slightest apprehension of the modus operandi. Number 3, the subconscious soul, like a benevolent stranger, works and makes provision for our benefit, pouring only the mature fruit into our lap. Thus, ultimate analysis of thought process shows that the subconscious is the theater of the most important mental phenomena. Number 4, it is through the subconscious that Shakespeare must have perceived, without effort, great truths which are hidden from the conscious mind of the student. The Phidias fashioned marble and bronze, that Raphael painted Madonnas, and Beethoven composed symphonies. Number 5, ease and perfection depend entirely upon the degree in which we cease to depend upon the consciousness. Playing the piano, skating, operating the typewriter, the skilled trades depend for their perfect execution on the process of the subconscious mind. The marvel of playing a brilliant piece on the piano, while at the same time conducting a vigorous conversation, shows the greatness of our subconscious powers. Number 6, we are all aware how dependent we are on the subconscious. And the greater, the nobler, the more brilliant our thoughts are, the more it is obvious to ourselves that the origin lies beyond our ken. We find ourselves endowed with tact, instinct, sense of beautiful in art, music, etc., or whose origin or dwelling place are wholly unconscious. Number 7, the value of the subconscious is enormous. It inspires us, it warns us, it furnishes us with names, facts, and scenes from the storehouse of memory. It directs our thoughts, tastes, and it accomplishes tasks so intricate that no conscious mind, even if it had the power, has the capacity for. Number 8, we can walk at will. We can raise the arm whenever we choose to do so. We can give our attention through eye or ear to any subject at pleasure. On the other hand, we cannot stop our heartbeats, nor the circulation of the blood, nor the growth of stature, nor the formation of nerve and muscle tissue, nor the building of the bones, nor many other important vital processes. Blink and kill yourself, right? Number 9, if we compare these two sets of action, the one decreed by the will of the moment and the other proceeding in majestic, rhythmic course, subject to no vacillation, but constant at every moment, we stand in awe of the latter and ask to have the mystery explained. We see at once that these are the vital processes of our life, and we cannot avoid the inference that these all-important functions are designedly withdrawn from the domain of our outward will with its variations and transitions and placed under the direction of a permanent and dependable power within us. Number 10, of these two powers, the outward and changeable has been termed the conscious mind or the objective mind, dealing with outward objects. The interior power is called the subconscious mind or the subjective mind. And besides its work on the mental plane, it controls the regular functions which make physical life possible. Number 11, it is necessary to have clear understanding of their respective functions of the mental plane as well as of certain other basic principles. Perceiving and operating through the 5 physical senses, the conscious mind deals with the impressions and objects of the outward life. Number 12, it has the faculty of discrimination, carrying with it the responsibility of choice. It has the power of reasoning, whether inductive, deductive, analytical, or syllogistic, and this power may be developed to a high degree. It is the seat of the will with all the energies that flow therefrom. Number 13. Not only can it impress other minds, but it can direct the subconscious mind. In this way, the conscious mind becomes the responsible ruler and guardian of the subconscious mind. It is this high function which can completely reverse conditions in your life. Number 14. It is often true that conditions of fear, worry, poverty, disease, inharmony, and evils of all kinds dominate us by reason of false suggestions accepted by the unguarded subconscious mind. All this the trained conscious mind can entirely prevent by its vigilant, protective action. It may be properly be called the watchman at the gate of the great subconscious domain. Number 15. One writer has expressed the chief distinction between the two phases of mind. Thus, conscious mind is reasoning will. Subconscious mind is instinctive desire, the result of past reasoning will. Number 16. The subconscious mind draws just and accurate inferences from premises furnished from outside sources. Whether the premise is true, the subconscious mind reaches a faultless conclusion. But where the premise or suggestion is an error, the whole structure falls. The subconscious mind does not engage in the process of proving. It relies upon the conscious mind, the watchman at the gate, to guard it from mistaken impressions. 17. Receiving any suggestions as true, the subconscious mind at once proceeds to act thereon in the whole domain of its tremendous field of work. The conscious mind can suggest either truth or error. If the latter, it is at the cost of wide-reaching peril to the whole being. Number 18. The conscious mind ought to be on duty every waking hour. When the watchman is off guard, or when its calm judgment is suspended under a variety of circumstances, then the subconscious mind is unguarded and left open to suggestion from all sources. During the wild excitement of panic, or during the height of anger, or the impulses of the irresponsible mob, or at any other time of unrestrained passion, the conditions are most dangerous. The subconscious mind is then open to the suggestion of fear, hatred, selfishness, greed, self-deprecation, and other negative forces derived from surrounding persons or circumstances. The result is usually unwholesome in the extreme, with effects that may endure to distress it for a long time. Hence, the great importance of guarding the subconscious mind from false impressions. Number 19. The subconscious mind perceives by intuition. Hence, its processes are rapid. It does not wait for the slow methods of conscious reasoning. In fact, it cannot employ them. Number 20. The subconscious mind never sleeps, never rests, any more than does your heart or your blood. It has been found that by plainly stating to the subconscious mind certain specific things to be accomplished, forces are set in operation that lead to the result desired. Here then is a source of power which places us in touch with omnipotence. Herein is a deep principle which is well worth our most earnest study. Number 21. The operation of this law is interesting. Those who put it into operation find that when they go out to meet the person with whom they anticipate a difficult interview, something has been there before them and dissolved the supposed differences, everything is changed. All is harmonious. They find that when some difficult business problem presents itself, they can afford to make delay and find something suggests a proper solution. Everything is properly arranged. In fact, those who have learned to trust the subconscious find that they have infinite resources at their command. Number 22. The subconscious mind is the seat of our principles and our aspirations. It is the fount of our artistic and altruistic ideals. These instincts can only be overthrown by an elaborate and gradual process of undermining the innate principles. Number 23. The subconscious mind cannot argue controversially. Hence, if it has accepted wrong suggestions, the sure method of overcoming them is by the use of a strong counter-suggestion, frequently repeated, which the mind must accept, thus eventually forming new and healthy habits of thought and life, for the subconscious mind is the seat of habit. That which we do over and over becomes mechanical. It is no longer an act of judgment, but has worn its deep grooves in the subconscious mind. This is favorable for us if the habit be wholesome and right. If it be harmful and wrong, the remedy is to recognize the omnipotence of the subconscious mind and suggest present actual freedom. The subconscious, being creative and one with our divine source, will at once create the freedom suggested. Damn, that one was insane. I'm going to highlight that. Number 24. To sum up, the normal functions of the subconscious on the physical side have to do with the regular and vital processes, with the preservation of life and the restoration of health, with the care of offspring, which includes an instinctive desire to preserve all life and improve conditions generally. Number 25. On the mental side, it is the storehouse of memory. It harbors the wonderful thought messengers who work unhampered by time or space. It is the fountain of the practical initiative and constructive forces of life. It is the seat of habit. 26. On the spiritual side, it is the source of ideals, of aspiration, of the imagination, and is the channel through which we recognize our divine source. And in proportion as we recognize this divinity, do we come into an understanding of the source of power. Number 27. Someone may ask, how can the subconscious change conditions? The reply is because the subconscious is a part of the universal mind, and a part must be the same in kind and quality as the whole. The only difference is one of degree. The whole, as we know, is creative. In fact, it is the only creator there is. Consequently, we find that the mind is creative. And as thought is the only activity which the mind possesses, thought must be necessarily be creative also. Number 28. But we shall find that there is a vast difference between simply thinking and directing our thought consciously, systematically and constructively. When we do this, we place our mind in harmony with the universal mind. We come in tune with the infinite. We set in operation the mightiest force in existence, the creative power of the universal mind. This, as everything else, is governed by natural law. And this law is the law of attraction, which is that mind is creative and will automatically correlate with its object and bring it into manifestation. Number 29. Last week, I gave you an exercise for the purpose of securing control of the physical body. If you have accomplished this, you are ready to advance. This time, you will begin to control your thought. Always take the same room, the same chair, and the same position if possible. In some cases, it is not convenient to take the same room. In this case, simply make the best use of such conditions as may be available. Now, be perfectly still as before, but inhibit all thought. This will give you control over all thoughts of care, worry, and fear, and will enable you to entertain only the kind of thoughts you desire. Continue this exercise until you gain complete mastery. Coffee break. There's a reason I get you guys to meditate like every day, all right? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Meditation builds the core strength of all your power. So you need to put those reps in. You need to lift that muscle. From there, you can do everything else. Meditate every single day, at least 20 minutes. Okay, back to the book. Number 30. You will not be able to do this for more than a few moments at a time, but the exercise is valuable because it will be a very practical demonstration of the great number of thoughts which are constantly trying to gain access to your mental world. Right? So through meditation, even if you don't get into the clarity of it, right? The thing you're trying to pop into, even by failing, there's something valuable there for you to witness, to recognize. And that's just the actual sheer volume, the number of thoughts that are going through and how many of them are negative, right? That alone, even if you suck at meditating, meditation will be profitable for you. Number 31. Next week, you will receive instructions for an exercise which may be a little more interesting, but it is necessary that you master this one first. Cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things. Mind is the master weaver, both of the interior garment of character and the outer garment of circumstance. That's a quote by Mr. James Allen. Part 2. Study questions with answers. Number 11. What are the two modes of mental activity? Conscious and subconscious. Number 12. Upon what do ease and perfection depend? Ease and perfection depend entirely upon the degree in which we cease to depend upon the conscious mind. Number 13. What is the value of the subconscious? It is enormous. It guides us, warns us. It controls the vital processes and is the seat of memory. Number 14. What are some of the functions of the conscious mind? It has the faculty of discrimination. It has the power of reasoning. It is the seat of the will and may impress the subconscious. Number 15. How has the distinction between the conscious and subconscious been expressed? Conscious mind is reasoning will. Subconscious mind is instinctive desire, the result of past reasoning will. Number 16. What method is necessary in order to impress the subconscious? . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . mentally state what is wanted. 17. What will be the result? If the desire is in harmony with the forward movement of the great whole, forces will be set in motion which will bring about the result. Number 18. What is the result of the operation of this law? Our environment reflects conditions corresponding to the predominant mental attitude which we entertain. Number 19. What names have been given to this law? The law of attraction. Number 20. How is the law stated? Thought is a creative energy and will automatically correlate with its object and bring it into manifestation. All right, quick smoker. Oh, this book is excellent. This is so awesome. It's kind of, the words, like when you read in them, they don't feel like normal words. Like there's something actually about the very specific way this is like phrased. There's the syntax of the word, like the language used. It's actually like it almost doesn't feel human. It's so strange. We're about to get into part 3. You have found that the individual may act on the universal, and that the result of this action and interaction is cause and effect. Thought, therefore, is the cause, and the experiences with which you meet in life are the effect. Eliminate, therefore, any possible tendency to complain of conditions as they have been, or as they are, because it rests with you to change them and make them what you would like them to be. Direct your effort to a realization of the mental resources, always at your command, from which all real and lasting power comes. I am highlighting that one. In fact, I want to read that again. Direct your effort to a realization of the mental resources, always at your command, from which all real and lasting power comes. Persist in this practice until you become to a realization of the fact that there can be no failure in the accomplishment of any proper object in life, but if you but understand your power and persist in your object, because the mind forces are ever ready to lend themselves to a purposeful will in the effort to crystallize thought and desires into actions, events, and conditions. Dude, this is straight heat. I'm highlighting that as well. Give me a sec. Whereas in the beginning of each function of life and each action is the result of conscious thought, the habitual actions become automatic and the thought that controls them passes into the realm of the subconscious, yet it is just as intelligent as before. It is necessary that it becomes automatic or subconscious in order that the self-conscious mind may attend to other things. That the new actions will, however, in turn become habitual and then automatic, then subconscious, in order that the mind may be freed from this detail and advanced to still other activities. When you realize this, you will have found a source of power which will enable you to take care of any situation in life which may develop. I'm going to hit you with that one again. When you realize this, you will have found a source of power which will enable you to take care of any situation in life which may develop. Part 3. The necessary interaction of the conscious and subconscious mind requires a similar interaction between the corresponding systems of nerves. DejaRu22 indicates, I don't know how to say that word. DejaRu22 indicates the very beautiful method in which this interaction is effected. He says, the cerebrospinal system is the organ of the conscious mind, and the sympathetic is the organ of the subconscious. The cerebrospinal is the channel through which we receive conscious preparation from the physical senses and exercise control over the movements of the body. This system of nerves has its center in the brain. Two, the sympathetic system has its center in a ganglionic mass. That is so funny. That is hilarious. The sympathetic system has its center in a ganglionic mass at the back of the stomach known as the solar plexus. And it is the channel of that mental action which unconsciously supports the vital functions of the human body. Number 3. The connection between the two systems is made by the vagus nerve, which passes out of the cerebral region as a portion of the voluntary system to the thorax, sending out branches to the heart and lungs, and finally passing through the diaphragm. It loses its outer coating and becomes identified with the nerves of the sympathetic system, so forming a connecting link between the two and making man physically a single entity. Number 4, we have seen that every thought is received by the brain, which is an organ of the conscious. It is here subjected to our power of reasoning. When the objective mind has been satisfied that the thought is true, it is sent to the solar plexus, or the brain of the subjective mind, to be made into our flesh, to be brought forth into the world as reality. It is then no longer susceptible to any argument whatever. The subconscious mind cannot argue, it only acts. It accepts the conclusions of the objective mind as final. I'm going to highlight that one. Let's read that one again, actually. Give me a second. We have seen that every thought is received by the brain, which is the organ of the conscious. It is here subjected to our power of reasoning. When the objective mind has been satisfied that the thought is true, it is sent to the solar plexus, or the brain of the subjective mind, to be made into our flesh, to be brought forth into the world as reality. It is then no longer susceptible to any argument whatever. The subconscious mind cannot argue. It only acts. It accepts the conclusions of the objective mind as final. Kind of ties back into, if you've read Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson, which is on the official Lambros book list. You need to read it. It's required reading. there's a banger of a concept of a line in there where it says, whatever the thinker thinks, the prover will prove. And it's talking about these two faculties that exist in your mind. If you can think of one little thing as the thinker and the other one as the prover, and that's their jobs, whatever the thinker thinks, the prover will prove. All right, you're ever looking for confirmation bias in ways that will not ever even be present in your awareness, just completely in the world of the subconscious. And that's the same thing it puts here, right? It's that the subconscious mind cannot argue, it only acts. It accepts the conclusions of the objective mind as final. Man, I've never read this author before, but I actually am loving just the syntax, the way that the language, like, maybe, I don't know if everybody appreciates this, but I'm like just like verbally autistic, where I like it just like scratches my need to feel texture. I have a synesthesia, right? So when I listen to music, I can see colors and shapes. And, you know, if you think about it, music is just sound. And there is a sound when I'm reading these words out loud. So it's kind of like my words are music. And I can see from the song that I'm singing right now, the shapes and colors that produces. And that's what makes reading this enjoyable. That it's genuinely pleasurable to something very deep in my brain. It scratches an itch. It's because of my strong Mercury placements in astrology. But anyway, let's get back to it. Number 5, the solar plexus has been likened to the sum of the body because it is a central point of the distribution for the energy which the body is constantly generating. You know how they said in high school, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? Yeah, this is basically the solar plexus is the mitochondria of us. Okay, I got distracted. Let me read that one again. The solar plexus has been likened to the sum of the body because it is a central point of distribution for the energy which the body is constantly generating. And your body is constantly generating. This energy is very real energy, and this sun is a very real sun. And the energy is being distributed by very real nerves to all parts of the body and is thrown off in an atmosphere which envelops the body. Number 6, if this radiation is sufficiently strong, the person is called magnetic. He is said to be filled with the personal magnetism. Such a person may wield an immense power for good. His presence alone will often bring comfort to the troubled minds with which he comes in contact. Wow, that one was beautiful. I painted like a full painting in my mind of swans going down a river. I'm not even joking. His presence alone will often bring comfort to the troubled minds in which he comes into contact. That is that's such a crazy thing. I've heard stories of very saintly Buddhist monks that they possessed a certain power that when they would walk into a room, people literally felt like glowing, like them within themselves, like in their heart. They felt them in their own heart, a sense of warmth that like magnetically vibrated, and that they could like literally feel it just by him being in the room. Like think about what's necessary in order to actually have that, and that is an ability available to anyone who insists upon developing it. I don't think it's something that's just in it and exclusive to a certain few individuals. I think if you train that, you could easily arrive there. It's just a decision to make. But imagine that, your heart being of such a quality that when you walk into a room, everybody else around you feels their own heart activated. That is just, right? So I'll read that one again. Number 6. if this radiation is sufficiently strong, which we're talking about the radiation being the energy being distributed in the solar plexus. If this radiation is sufficiently strong, the person is called magnetic. He is said to be filled with personal magnetism. Such a person may wield an immense power for good. His presence alone will often bring comfort to the troubled minds with which he comes in contact. So, the Buddhist monks are very aware of their energy being distributed through their solar plexus. Right? Reason being, the more you meditate, the more you become aware of your chakras, right? And it's literally a monk's job and aim to meditate for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours for the sole purpose of seeking enlightenment. So all those reps, it's kind of impossible not to have a very real mind-muscle connection to those areas. And by being able to focus on them and feel them exactly, they develop a unique power. You can think of it like this. Imagine bouncing a ball. And imagine that the world is, okay, imagine this, right? It's a parallel universe. Bouncing a ball, like let's say a basketball. Bouncing a basketball in this alternate universe is something that's very, very, very difficult that like hardly anybody ever does, right? It's a very uncommon thing, right? If bouncing the basketball, you can feel that coordination, right? Most of you here, if you get your hand right now and you bounce a basketball, like you do the motion, just like where you're sitting, right? Bounce the basketball, you can kind of feel how it's hitting the ground and then coming up. Like you know the precise timing of when you need to put your hand down again, right? And then you can do it with your eyes closed, right? You have that feeling. You've got that kinesthetic sense. That is what monks have from all their hours meditating. They have a kinesthetic sense over their spiritual centers. And with that, that is where their powers come from. Back to the book. Number 7. This is the same thing. This is literally, okay. When the solar plexus is in active operation and is radiating life, energy, and vitality to every part of the body and to everyone whom he meets, the sensations are pleasant. The body is filled with health, and all whom comes into contact experience a pleasant sensation. Number 8. If there is any interruption of this radiation, the sensations are unpleasant. The flow of life and energy to some part of the body is stopped. And this is the cause of every ill to the human race, physical, mental, or environmental. Number 9, physical, because the sun body is no longer generating sufficient energy to vitalize some part of the body. Mental, because the conscious mind is dependent upon the subconscious mind for the vitality necessary to support its thought and environment. And environmental, because the connection between the subconscious mind and the universal mind is being interrupted. Number 10, the solar plexus is the point at which the part meets the whole, where the finite meets the infinite, where the uncreate becomes create, the universal becomes individualized, the invisible becomes visible. It is the point at which life appears, and there is no limit to the amount of life an individual may generate from this solar center. Damn, this is making me in the mood to, when I'm going to go to sleep, put on a solar plexus vibration going. Number 10. Wait, I just did number 10. Number 11. This center of energy is omnipotent because it is the point of contact with all life and all intelligence. It can, therefore, accomplish whatever it is directed to accomplish. And herein lies power of the conscious mind. The subconscious can and will carry out such plans and ideas as may be suggested to it by the conscious mind. Number 12. Conscious thought, then, is master of this sun center from which the life and energy of the entire body flows, and the quality of the thought which we entertain determines the quality of the thought which this sun will radiate, and the character of the thought which our conscious mind entertains will determine the character of thought. Will determine the nature of thought which this sun will radiate, and consequently will determine the nature of the experience which will result. Damn, what a tongue twister. Blah, blah, blah. I mixed it up so bad. Number 13. It is evident, therefore, that all we have to do is let our light shine. Hey, that's what I'm always saying. The more energy we can radiate, the more rapidly shall we be enabled to transmute undesirable conditions into sources of pleasure and profit. The important question then is how to let this light shine, how to generate this energy. I love the way this is written. It's like so like sequential. This is so neatly ordered. It's one thing it folding directly into the next thing in a very easy to follow structure. Number 14. Non-resistant thought expands the solar plexus. Resistant thought contracts it. Pleasant thought expands it. Unpleasant thoughts contracts it. Thoughts of courage, power, confidence, and hope all produce a corresponding state. But the one arch enemy of the solar plexus, which must be absolutely destroyed before there is any possibility of letting any light shine, is fear. This enemy must be completely destroyed. He must be eliminated. He must be expelled forever. He is the cloud which hides the sun, which causes a perpetual gloom. Number 15. It is this personal devil which makes men fear the past, the present, and the future. Fear themselves, their friends, and their enemies. Fear everything and everybody. When fear is effectually and completely destroyed, your light will shine. The clouds will disperse, and you will have found the source of power, of energy, and of life. Number 16. When you find that you are really one with infinite power, and when you can consciously realize this power by a practical demonstration of your ability to overcome any adverse condition by the power of your thought, you will have nothing to fear. Fear will have been destroyed, and you will have come into possession of your birthright. See what I mean? Like, the language is just epic. I'm gonna highlight that one. Such a how did he write this? Number 17. It is our attitude of mind toward life which determines the experiences with which we are able to meet. If we expect nothing, we shall have nothing. If we demand much, we shall receive the greater portion. The world is as harsh only as we fail to assert ourselves. Whoa, I'm gonna highlight that one. The world is harsh only as we fail to assert ourselves. So basically, every single part of your life that sucks is because you suck at asserting yourself into it. Damn. I'm going to read that one again from the top. Number 17. It is our attitude of mind toward life which determines the experiences with which we are able to meet. If we expect nothing, we shall have nothing. If we demand much, we shall receive the greater portion. The world is harsh only as we fail to assert ourselves. So basically, the less you demand from reality, the less reality will have to offer you. The reason you do not have more or greater is nothing else than a direct lack of your demand. Back to the book. The criticism of the world is bitter only to those who cannot compel room for their ideas. It is fear of this criticism that causes many ideas to fail to see the light of day. But the man who knows that he has a solar plexus will not fear criticism or anything else. He will be too busy radiating courage, confidence, and power. He will anticipate success by his mental attitude. He will pound barriers to pieces and leap over the chasm of doubt and hesitation which fear places in his path. I'm highlighting that. It's getting to the point now where it's just banger after banger after banger. I have to start and stop just to reflect. I feel like when you're reading a book and you're really reading to cement things into your mind, you should not speed read it. Okay, when you're literally trying to pummel the clay of your subconscious, okay, then that's very different to reading for information, right? It's completely different. This you need to imagine you go into a restaurant and you order the finest meal, right? The whole point of fine dining, not to be like, oh, yeah, fine dining, but the whole point of the portion sizes that they give you, they're tiny. You're not meant to scoff them down. That's completely missing the point. You're meant to chew them. You're meant to savor them. It's the same with a good wine. If you want to read a book for information, speed read it. If you want to read a book so that it molds your subconscious, you need to drink it like wine. You need to stop. You need to start. You need to pause. You need to have a quick cig, which I'm going to light up. Give me a sec. You need to punctuate it. You need to chew on it. You need to ruminate it. You need to allow what you just read to land. You need to read it twice, right? Look how many times I've just, brazenly gone, hang on, let me stop the flow. Let me read that one more time. I need to hear that again, okay? That's how you should read a book if you want a book to actually impact, to actually kind of, impress the subconscious. Reading for information is completely different. Hey, would you do me a favor and go to the tweet of this space and just give it a retweet? Just give it a little bump. Thank you. All right, let's get back to it. Number 19, a knowledge of our ability to consciously radiate health, strength, and harmony will bring us into a realization that there is nothing to fear because we are in touch with this infinite strength. This knowledge, hang on, that's the number 20. This knowledge can be gained Only by making practical application of this information. We learn by doing. Through practice, the athlete becomes powerful. Ah, what a banger. Through practice, the athlete becomes powerful. I forget who tweeted it. It was recent. Somebody said that you should approach everything that you do in the same way that a professional athlete approaches his sport. Like be a I can't even remember the wording, but it was genius. We learn by doing. Through practice, athlete comes powerful. All mindset stuff, all original mindset stuff, like in the beginning, like where it stemmed from, where the source, the well that it draws upon was, established, was in athletics and sports, because it's a very explicit domain to demonstrate success, right? It's a very clear, objective. Did you win? Did you get gold? Oh no, you got silver, right? There aren't too many things in life where you can see it exactly like that, because there's different trade-offs. There's, it's not a level playing field, so you perceive it differently. But in sports, it's very black and white. No bullshit. You know when you won, you know when you've lost, and it's a very strict and repetitious path to mastery, right? Through practice, the athlete comes powerful. It's just drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling. All mindset stuff came from athletics. Number 21. As the following statement is of considerable importance, I will put it several ways so that you cannot fail to get the full significance of it. If you are religiously inclined, I would say, you can let your light shine. If your mind has a bias towards physical science, I would say you can wake the solar plexus. Or, if you prefer the strictly scientific interpretation, I will say that you can impress your subconscious mind. Wow, look how good of a writer this guy is. He's talking to several demographics to get the same thing to you, right? So it doesn't matter what your origin is in hearing this information. It's all ultimately going to transpire towards the development of the aim of this book, to arm you with the ideas and knowledge contained within. Number 22. I have already told you what the result of this impression will be. It is the method in which you are now interested. You have already learned that the subconscious is intelligent and that it is creative and responsive to the will of the conscious mind. What, then, is the most natural way of making the desired impression? Mentally concentrate on the object of your desire. When you are concentrating, you are impressing the subconscious. This book is absolute fire. I'm highlighting that one too. I'm rereading it. Mentally concentrate on the object of your desire. When you are concentrating, you are impressing the subconscious. Number 23. This is not the only way, but it is a simple and effective way, and the most direct way, and consequently, the way in which the best results are secured. It is the method which is producing such extraordinary results that many think that miracles are being accomplished. Number 24. It is the method by which every great inventor, every great financier, every great statesman has been enabled to convert the subtle and invisible force of desire, faith, and confidence into the actual, tangible, concrete facts in the objective world. Number 25. The subconscious mind is a part of the universal mind. The universal is the creative principle of the universe. A part must be the same in kind and quality as the whole. This means that there is creative power is absolutely unlimited. It is not bound by precedent of any kind, and consequently has no existing pattern by which to apply its constructive principle. Number 26. We have found that the subconscious mind is responsive to our conscious will, which means that the unlimited creative power of the universal mind is within control of the conscious mind of the individual. Number 27. When making a practical application of this principle, in accordance with the exercises given in the subsequent lessons, it is well to remember that it is not necessary to outline the method by which the subconscious will produce the results you desire. The finite cannot inform the infinite. You are simply to say what you desire, not how you are to obtain it. That is a beautiful point. My mom, growing up, would always tell me that when you ask God for things, never ask him for, you ask him things and then you have to kind of leave it at that. You don't try and imagine the way that it might come out. And in fact, when I was a child, this used to absolutely infuriate me as a mind teaser, because I would like play this game with myself endlessly. Okay, I imagine I have a distinct memory of this. I'm 5 years old, and I'm thinking about this concept that we just talked about. That never imagine the way that God's going to do it. And so I would play this thing in my head. It was a game, and it'd be like, okay, God, please give me $100, right? And then I would begin to think, well, where is it gonna come from, right? From which avenue will it arrive in front of me, basically? And I would think of one thing, and then my mom would explain to me that the possible number of the number of possibilities are infinite. That every single one that I can think of, there exists another one that I cannot even comprehend or imagine. Right? I would play this game over and over and over again in my head, and it used to torture me because it went on forever. My poor little mind couldn't handle it. Right? I couldn't like when you think about this, you actually get a feel on what infinite actually is, and it kind of messes with you, like just the kinesthetic sense that you gain over what truly limitlessness feels like. So play that as a game and you'll experience it. Because other than that, unless you literally try and play with that and feel what infinite feels like, you will literally have no concept of what the very source and origin of everything that exists is. Right? So this is the game. Okay, so imagine that you say, well, this is what I used to do when I was 5. I used to imagine that I'm asking God for $100, right? And I keep thinking, from which avenue, how will it arrive to me? Where will I find this $100 that God has decided to bestow upon me, right? And so I have a very clear visual of this. The one thing that my brain would always default to when I'm trying to like see the image of how this is coming to me is, when my mom kept saying, nope, there's like, think of it, there's even another one, and it's even another one, there's even another one. I would always think of the most absurd thing that it could possibly arrive to me, like the most absurd form, was that it would be. I used to have a huge pine cone tree in the front of my house, and it was absolutely massive and filled with pine cones. And we used to always make a big deal of them and play with them. And he used to put them in the front of the on the road, and I'd line it up for cars to drive over, and then people would stop. That was awful. I was such a troll as a kid. Oh my goodness. But yeah, pine cones, for some reason, I thought the most absurd way that it could possibly arrive to me is if I found one day that I'm claiming the pine cone tree, and in one of the pine cones there's a $100 bill just like between its leafy little things. I used to picture that as the most absurd way that it could possibly arrive. So for me, it's always hit that kinesthetic sense of you can feel infinite from just all the ways that you imagine just with that little exercise. Do that later. All right. I only have I have to call this up. I have to call this a wrap soon. I don't have I'll have to go soon. Number 28. You are the channel by which the undifferentiated is being differentiated. Right? That's literally what we just talked about, right? You're the channel by which the undifferentiated is being differentiated. And this differentiation is being accomplished by appropriation. It only requires recognition to set causes in motion, which will bring about results in accordance with your desire. And this is accomplished because the universal can act only through the individual, and the individual can act only through the universal. They are one. Number 29. For your exercise this week, I will ask you to go one step further. I want you to not only be perfectly still and inhibit all thoughts as far as possible, but relax, let go. Let the muscles take their normal condition. This will remove all pressure from the nerves and eliminate that tension which so frequently produces physical exhaustion. I'm going to highlight that one. The more you learn to relax your muscles, so here's a good way to describe it. Okay, have you ever hit, like on your computer, you hit Shift Escape, you bring up Task Manager, right? And you can see all the processes and how much each program is requiring of the CPU, right? So you pull it up. So whenever your computer would get laggy, like back in the old days when computers used to lag all the time, you would bring up Control Shift Escape, right? Bring up Task Manager, and you're looking for the program which has got all the RAM, that's hogging CPU, and basically making your computer to freeze, so you can delete it, right? Your nervous system and absolutely bringing the CPU. All that stiffness that you're holding, right? Because of stress. When you don't require that as a physical action of your body, which is basically a really low level isometric exercise. Relax your muscles. Number 29. Number 31. Tensions lead to mental unrest and abnormal mental activity of the mind. It produces worry, care, fear, and anxiety. Relaxation is therefore an absolute necessity in order to allow the mental faculties to exercise the greatest freedom. Damn. Let's read that one again. Tensions lead to mental unrest and abnormal mental activity of the mind. It produces worry, care, fear, and anxiety. Relaxation is therefore an absolute necessity in order to allow the mental faculties to exercise the greatest freedom. Right? So the more your body can relax, the more you can use your mind. It's important that you can make yourself relax. That reminds me, I've always said that before a child can learn, a child needs to feel safe, right? In fact, that's not limited to a child, but like in a very explicit sense, because they don't have much of a developed prefrontal cortex, right? But for us, it's certainly still true. You need to learn how to relax, because if you're defensive, you're not going to have an open mind. And I mean physically, not even that applies to all facets, but specifically physically, right? There's something called, if you've heard of it, feng shui, and it's a Chinese esoteric art that deals with, it's the science of environmental stresses. So have you ever walked into a really nice, like a cafe or a designer shop, right? Sometimes the way that the furniture, the colors, the lighting is arranged, it is so well orchestrated that it genuinely like makes you feel good and calm inside, right? Have you ever experienced that? I'm sure you have. Think of the most beautiful building you've ever been in, where it just felt like everything was in its exact space. There was an energy in the air, right? That is feng shui. That is an actual established and observed study, like field of information. We know how to deliberately create that, right? And there's many different types of feng shui. There's a feng shui that's very practical and sensible, and there's even a feng shui that's like completely, 100% esoteric, and not even very logical. Like, for example, for extra prosperity in your business, you get a jade elephant and you place it in the northwest corner of your house, right? I made that up. That's not a real one. But there's a version of feng shui that feels and is aware of the vibration of objects to such a degree that they have actually found they can alter reality by the objects in their home and how they are placed. Right? It's drawing the infinite into the finite. It's literally putting a tangible blanket over how that science interacts from physical to non-physical. And so back to the point of, a child needs to feel safe before a child can learn. It's way more higher up on the list, right? So basically, if you think of the human organism, if you're in danger and your life is at risk, your life is being threatened, you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you're in panic mode. All the blood in your body is going to rush to your legs so that you can run away. Right? The human body is designed to shut off and turn on different parts of itself in the name of success in one area. So I remember one time I was playing knock and run, ding dong ditch with my friends, and we pissed off the wrong guy. It was like a cop. We were like 15, 16 at the time. And we go up, we knock on their door, and by the third or fourth time, they were waiting behind the door right as we knocked it. And they, two full-grown men, huge, enormous human beings, jagged, were chasing us, teenage boys. We ran like hell for so long because we looked back and they were still chasing us. Like, these guys were mad. And I experienced something I'd never ever experienced, which was the blood in my legs, like the blood in my body being forced into my legs, provides the most ungodly pump you can possibly imagine, right? The only way you can actually get to that point is if you're actually being threatened to that point, right? It's such an extreme sensation, an extreme movement that your body's not equipped to deal with on the day-to-day. It's so extreme that you can basically only trigger it for real, unless you have just insane control. But that's what the body does. It will shut off different parts in order to protect yourself. So back to, you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, right? At that point, you're not even going to be able to think. That's the whole point of fight or flight, right? It's that you come into such a shock that you lose all thinking and cognitive ability, that it reduces only down to, do I stay or do me go, right? It's like, do me fight or me run? It's that level of simplicity because every other unit of mental power is dedicated towards we've got to stay alive. So when you're in that we've got to stay alive, turn off your brain, you're hardly going to be receptive to learning, aren't you? So for that reason, you need to feel safe before you can learn. And just as a simple point of this, I'll give you one quick thing with feng shui before we move on and return. In feng shui, there's something called the power position. All right, and this is just a basic like masculinity thing as well. Okay, if you go into a restaurant, you want to always sit in a spot where you can see definitely the entrance, but also the exits, right? And you're very cognizant of your back to the wall. Nobody can sneak up on you. All right. Now, the chances that somebody's going to come and kill you while you're at the dinner table, extraordinarily low, but non-zero, right? Like there is a chance that people are crazy in the world today. There's a chance that a dude runs in and anything can happen in 2023, right? So you're always sat in a spot with your back against the wall. You can see everywhere, everything that comes in. Okay. When you're in this spot in feng shui, it's referred to as the power position. When you're in this spot, your like testosterone actually increases. You are at the most nervously relaxed. Hang on, I have to rephrase that because like, nervously. Your nervous system becomes the most relaxed when you are in the power position. Okay, so how does the power position apply to your house? A tip for your bedroom: go do this, like literally today, if it's not already done. You want your head that when you open your eyes, you can see the door, right? You absolutely do not want it to your back. You do not want your side exposed. You want it to be so that you literally lay and wake up looking at the door. When you can decorate your room, put whatever you want in it, rearrange it any which way. Nothing will have as great an impact as that one shift. That one shift will make a tremendous difference to your sleep, to how you feel about the room, just the level of rest you're going to be able to get, because it, at the nervous system level, relaxes you. And as we just explained, you need to be relaxed before you can learn. All right, you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. There's no room for thinking. You're hardly going to be able to do calculus when you're being chased by, fuck. I was going to make that really funny and say the name of the saber-toothed tiger in Ice Age, but I don't know the name. So we'll just move forward and ignore that. Number 30. Physical relaxation is a voluntary exercise of the will, and the exercise would be found to be of great value as it enables the blood to circulate freely to and from the brain and body. Okay, so remember, back to just let me give you a refresh of where we're at. It's like you have a task manager, right? When you're not relaxed, when you tense, when your shoulders are pinched and your jaw's clenched, you are putting massive strain on the CPU, and you are not allowing your mind to function effectively or anywhere near as good as it can, right? So it would be of tremendous value to you if you made it a regular habit and a commitment to being aware of when you're holding tension in your body, simply so you can release it, okay? You're going to literally double your IQ just from how much bandwidth you free up by deleting this extremely taxing unit. Number 31. Tensions lead to mental unrest and abnormal mental activity of the mind. It produces worry, care. Wait, what? I accidentally flipped. Hang on. Excuse me. I flicked to the wrong page. Reading this in a PDF. Number 31. Tensions lead to mental unrest and abnormal mental activity of the mind. It produces worry, care, fear, and anxiety. Relaxation is therefore an absolute necessity in order to allow the mental faculties to exercise the greatest freedom. Number 32. Make this exercise as thorough and complete as possible. Mentally determine that you will relax every muscle and nerve until you feel quiet and restful and at peace with yourself and the world. Oh man, if you were much as a word nerd as me and you you cream over how well sentences are written, like when you read a good sentence, you're like, oh, right? That was absolute, that hit my synesthesia. That one just there. I'm going to read that again. Number 32. Make this exercise as thorough and complete as possible. Mentally determine that you will relax every muscle and nerve until you feel quiet and restful and at peace with yourself and the world. Number 33. The solar plexus will then be ready to function, and you will be surprised at the result. Part 3. Study questions with answers. Number 21. Question 21. What system of nerves is the organ of the conscious mind? The cerebrospinal. 22. What system of nerves is the organ of the subconscious mind? The sympathetic. 23. What is the central point of distribution for energy which the body is constantly generating? The solar plexus. 24. How may this distribution be interrupted? By resistant, critical, discordant thoughts, but especially fear. 25. What is the result of such interruption? Every ill with which the human race is afflicted. '27. How may fear be completely eliminated? By an understanding and recognition of the true source of all power. Number 28. What determines the experiences with which we meet in life? Our predominant mental attitude. Number 29. How may we awaken the solar plexus? Ladies and gentlemen, we may awaken the solar plexus by mentally concentrating upon the condition which we desire to see manifested in our lives. I'm going to say that again. We may awaken the solar plexus by mentally concentrating upon the condition with which we desire to see manifested in our lives. And finally, what is the creative principle of the universe? The creative principle of the universe is the universal mind. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been The Masterkey System by Charles F. Haanel. Thank you for joining me on Reading Time with Ruby. We will pause right here, right before the introduction, part 4, and I hope to see you there.